come across the helicopter itself that had landed. And Elena comes out of the helicopter and she's herding a bunch of these Robe guys out of the helicopter. And when she sees us, we ask if she's there to fight us. And she responds, no.
Well, look who it is.
You here to pick a fight?
What? Oh, no. Just dropping off some unruly passengers. They were fine when we left Junon, and then they weren't. So, here we are. Don't know why. One minute they were okay, and the next...
So this is kind of interesting because it's obviously, again, implying that the helicopter kind of started out carrying a bunch of soldiers who must have then degraded around the same time.
I didn't think of that.
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, so they all degraded while riding in the helicopter, turning into these robe zombies complete with black robes. Because
that's what happens.
their clothing turns to black robes.
You just materialize black robes out of nothing.
I guess. But this is really hammering home the idea that soldiers, or at least people who fought for Shinra, we don't know if it's just soldier unit. Sometimes they hint that it might be others, but it's primarily soldier, it seems. They eventually suffer from cellular degradation and they turn into robe guys. And it's hard to know exactly when that will happen because it happens for different people at different times. It just happened for this whole group all at the same time on the helicopter.
That's so interesting. Because I did not read it that way. When I saw it, I'm like, why are they busing robe guys up the mountain? Were they reunion? And they were like, come get a ride in our helicopter and we'll drop you off where you want to go. I was so confused. I literally have my notes. I was like,
oh, okay.
Why are they flying these guys around? What's the deal? But that makes way more sense if they were soldiers, because obviously they're part of Shinra, right? And they have an escort detail or whatever. And then all of a sudden they change.
And then suddenly they change. And so they just drop them off.
Okay. Yeah.
Right.
That makes sense to me.
So I picked up on that. You picked up on the high altitude.
Thank you. Yes.
We're helping each other out.
I was confused as to why they were in the helicopter with them, which is cool about the helicopter too, because you can actually see the helicopter flying over the skies when you're down at the zipline area too.
Yeah, is that the same one though? Because that was so long ago.
I don't know if it's the same one, but I thought that was a similar one. But
I wondered because there's the helipad in Costa del Sol.
True.
Anyway, so it could have been. Regardless, Shinra likes to travel in helicopters, right? We see those all the time.
Right.
And then when we catch a close-up of one of the robe guys that just came off the helicopter at that point, he's now on the ground, right? He's headed down the path the same as the others, whatever.
Yeah.
And then we briefly get a close-up of Cloud's eye, for a split second. And I think that quick moment is just implying that he is hearing the same call as the robe guys, right? So again, we see this kind of thing throughout the game. I'm curious if the real reason will be as obvious as they're trying to make it look, or if there's going to be something more. And I think there's more coming.
Yeah, because it's so heavy-handed.
It's hammering over the head.
And we'll talk about it more as this chapter goes on, because there are multiple examples throughout this chapter where they bring up cellular degradation, the soldiers struggling, examples of other soldiers turning into black robe guys, focusing on the black robes, looking at Cloud, the party being like, Cloud, are you okay? This happens so much. And I'm like, man, this is we get it. Cloud is struggling.
Which makes me feel like there's going to be a bait and switch.
Sure. But I
they're trying to mislead us because it's so blatant. And when is Final Fantasy ever clear?
Sure. But my point is I don't mind it because it is Cloud is the main character. And it's every time they bring it up, it's interesting to me. Right.
Well, and it's high stakes because
it's if you could transform in a minute.
We know something's happening to Cloud, but we don't know 100% what it is. But if it's that's enough to really raise the stakes for our main character.
And I wonder about people who are playing this for the first time, right? Because we if you play the original, I know Rebirth is different. They kind of have carte blanche to kind of do whatever they want. Mm-hmm. So it is kind of keeping people who've played the original on their toes a little bit, but we kind of have some reassurances. We kind of know what happens to Cloud. But if you're playing this for the first time, there might be some things where you're like, oh.
Well, and they could change it.
I feel like Square is playing both sides of the same coin with us. So they do that, right? And so for a minute there, you might think, oh, well, he has the same fate. But then you have other scenes where Sephiroth is saving him and I can't let you die. And it's one of those things where it's well, then that must mean that Cloud has something that Sephiroth wants or that Sephiroth needs that the other robed individuals don't.
Right.
Or that he's not the same as just a regular soldier.
Well, then that's my point, that he in fact is not afflicted by the cellular degradation, and that's the reason he's such a prize to Sephiroth, because he can get past that, but there might be something else more mental that he's suffering from as opposed to the cellular degradation.
Yeah, and I think that's interesting. And Ernest, you brought up a few chapters ago the whole idea of like, what if he's like a schizophrenic or something like that? Like, what if there's something going on and he has just like a mind problem?
Yeah,
right?
Psychosis, right? So like,
I think the psychosis idea is really interesting. I don't know that they're going to go down that path, but I think it would be cool if they did.
Yeah.
But the point of this is like, they're presenting information to us that makes us ask a ton of questions. And it goes back to, what are the answers to these questions? We need the answers to these questions, you know, but I do appreciate that they are hammering this point home, just because it's good to have a consistent point be hammered home through this game that has so many questions.
And it raises the stakes, so it keeps you wanting to move forward, right? Because it's like, we care about Cloud and we want to see that resolved. And I think this is obviously one of the questions that they have to answer. And I have no doubt that they will.
Yeah, this is one that, like, if you don't answer that question at the end of the game, then it's a total fail.
Then it's like, never buying a Square Enix game again.
And this is the most perfect game that's going to exceed all expectations, remember? So
they'll answer all your questions.
They're going to answer all the questions.
Yeah, the problem is, in order to do that, like the last couple of chapters of the last installment are going to be a roller coaster.
That'll make it good if they do it right.
The game will also have to be like 300 hours long. So
bring it on.
We'll see what happens. I'm hopeful but skeptical.
Yeah.
Well, I can't argue with you there.